Hi, this is Chico Resch. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
Happy Devils Saturday. Welcome to Game Day Live, presented by the Let's Go Devils Podcast Network and the Primetime Radio Studios, along with Ann Crew Brew. My name is Vinnie, Parise, joined today by the great Sam Wu, and we are happy to get you set for New Jersey Devils hockey as they take on the Calgary Flames. Welcome to all fans watching on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, X Live, and Twitch. The Devils, they are taking care of business today against the Calgary Flames. Sam, can you speak? Sam Wu is unable to speak right now. He is still looking to figure out how to stop making sign language. No, I'm totally joking. He's dealing with some technical difficulties. Sam will be able to speak with you here all in just a couple seconds as he figures it out. But, you know, today, the New Jersey Devils, they're taking on these Calgary Flames. And I tell you what, it hasn't been pretty over the last 2 weeks or so, I would say, since getting guys like Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, Timo Meier. Eric Holla was out for a spell there. They're still missing Dougie Hamilton. He's going to be out for a while. But they've won 5 of 6. Okay, and it hasn't been always pretty. There have been a couple games where they played a solid 60-minute game. It looked good basically till the end. I know the Flyers game got a little hairy at the end, but for the most part, that was a well-played game against a John Tortorella coach team that plays very, very well. They had the game against the Sharks. Probably shouldn't have gone back to Akira Schmid in that game after making 40-something saves the night before. That was a disaster. That felt like the sky was falling for the Devils. But then the Canucks, they blew the lead, but they ended up getting the win anyway. The Kraken, they didn't play particularly well. It was the first goalie win of the season. But, I mean, you know, they've won 5 of 6. And really getting the 2 points, according to a lot of people that, you know, reply to my tweets and whatnot, that's the most important thing. You got to just get the 2 points. They've been doing that. They've gotten 5 wins out of their last 6. That's 10 points out of the last possible 12. Sam, I think you are able to hear me and communicate now.
Yeah, I'm able to communicate. Sorry, we're having a little technical difficulties here. For whatever reason, a USB cable does not work. It's weird. It's weird how it works, right?
Hate that. And you're gone again. You're gone again. We can't hear you again. I don't know if he realizes that, but can't hear him again. We're kind of dealing with this technical difficulty again today, but I'm not sure what the deal is. Honestly, technology, it kind of owns us. You know, sometimes when we try to make these adjustments and get the show out to you all, we were pushed back a half hour due to the delay, but, you know, we're going to try and get through it. I'm here. It's working for me. Usually it's me who has the problems. Today, that's not so much the case. We're doing all right over here, but Sam Wu not having great time with the audio. But, you know, we're going to get to today's game. You know, I'm excited for it. You're taking on the Calgary Flames. You are going to see a netminder who has been in the AHL for a long time. Looking to secure what would be, I believe, his second NHL win if he were to beat the Devils today. Of course, I'm talking about Dustin Wolf. Just to try and get you some information on Dustin Wolf. He's making his start for the Calgary Flames today. Yes, he's starting this afternoon. He was the goalie of the year the last couple years in the AHL. So that's important. And then, of course, the Devils, they're going to use Vitek Vanacek. Now, there's a lot of debate whether or not they should have gone back to Akira Schmid. You know, there was the deal after the Flyers. Well, they're not going to start the back-to-back goalie thing in this 2-game set in Alberta. Today, you have the Calgary Flames. Tomorrow, you have the Edmonton Oilers. I believe you go right back to Schmid for the Edmonton Oilers, no matter how today's game goes. I don't care if Vitek Vanacek has a 16-save shutout. The Devils play so good in front of him, he only has to make 16 saves and he gets a shutout. You go to Akira Schmid against tomorrow. Obviously, the Calgary Flames and the Edmonton Oilers have both kind of gotten off to a mediocre start this season. It's not like either of them are the powerhouses that they've been over the last handful of years. I know the Flames, they missed the playoffs by 1 point last year, but they still were a good team, hard to play against. The Devils kind of played them early in the season last year when they were on their little heater. I think both of their games against Calgary were part of the 13-game winning streak. I could be wrong about that. I know at least one of them was, but I'm pretty sure both of them were actually. And it's different right now. The Flames and the Oilers, they have their problems, but the Oilers, I think, have been playing better lately. They're on a 5-game winning streak in their own right, and McDavid has 21 points in his last 9 games. I would rather have the goalie that's playing better in that game. Sam, I'm sure you agree.
Yeah, you know what? I think the Devils, just like in baseball, you have a 5 or 6 man rotation for starting pitching. I think the Devils need a 3-goalie rotation at this point because Akira Schmid and Vitek Vanacek, this is my opinion, of course, they play much better when they're rested, just like any other goaltender. So, you saw what happened in Vancouver. I thought Vanacek played well. I think he got shelled. I think he got, left, fending for himself at times. But he played well enough to win. And then you put in Akira Schmid, the next time around, and he was well rested because he's been resting since the Sharks debacle. And he played outstanding. I thought he played outstanding in that 2-1 victory over the Kraken.
That was the best goalie performance of the season, I think. That was the first time they truly got a win where it's like you could point to the blue paint and you're like, that's the reason they won the game. I think if a struggling Vanacek was in net, they probably don't beat the Kraken. And there were multiple times where Akira Schmid made multiple great saves, a couple saves in the same sequence where the Kraken were hard on the puck and getting down low, a couple posts, a couple real lucky posts for the Devils. Now, I know there's people who believe that post shots aren't all that impressive. It means you missed the net. The goalie did his job. He covered the part of the net where the puck would go in. I don't agree with that at all. I believe if the puck hits the post, just the simple physics says the puck could bounce off the post and go into the net. We've seen bar down skis. We've seen post in. We've seen the double doink end up going in. There's all sorts of ways it could go in off of hitting the crossbar or the post. So, no, I don't believe that's necessary. You beat the goaltender cleanly if you hit the post, and the bounce just didn't go your way if it doesn't go in the net if you're a shooter. So, yes, there was a little bit of luck involved, but Schmid, he played well, and the Devils got the 2 goals they needed. Kind of pivoting off that, Sam, they got the win because Shimon Nemitz, as we're learning how to say it properly, as he makes his way through the NHL. Shimon Nemitz, he's played in his 3rd NHL game against the Kraken, and he scored his first career NHL goal. He's got 3 points in 3 games. He's been one of the better defensemen on the team. 3rd in ice time last game. And the whole team as whole, I believe only Jack Hughes and Luke Hughes had more overall ice time than Shimon Nemitz last game. What's your takeaway from the way he started his career?
Well, I call him Simon Nemitz because I'm going to hide behind Kate Madigan when she announced who the Devils were drafting, and I'm going to do that from now on. But it's actually, from what I'm reading, I haven't confirmed it, it's that Shimon Nemitz is from Slovakia. That's how they pronounce it there. Whereas Simon Gagne, remember him? That's more French Canadian way of saying it. So anyway, who cares? The guy's good. I loved your tweet on Twitter or X, whichever you prefer, the other day, Vinny, where you are loving Nemitz being 2nd overall. And I have to go back to old podcasts, but I was calling Slafkovsky just a bust. So far, he's struggling. There's still time, obviously, and it's still way too early. You remember Jack Hughes when he entered the league, but I'll tell you what, his teammate Simon Nemitz, he's pretty good, and he's cleaning up a lot of those rebounds. He seems like he finds his stick.
Yeah. I think the world of him, honestly. When as I tweeted the tweet you're referencing, I thought that was a bad decision. I wanted them to take Slavkovsky if he fell to them at 2. I thought the Habs were going to take Shane Wright number 1, and then that would mean the Devils take Slavkovsky at number 2. Well, when Montreal shocks the world and takes Slavkovsky first overall, I'm like, okay, the answer's easy. You just got to draft Shane Wright. And then they passed on him, and I'm like, okay, well, if they're going to pass on Shane Wright, I'm sure it's going to be Logan Cooley, right? Like, that's just kind of how it feels like it's going to go. And
Yeah.
it ended up being Nemitz. And you know what? They might have figured out that, okay, it's revisionist history, but you look back at the 2017 NHL draft, and it was Nico versus Nolan. They weren't walking out of there without Nico Hischier. Ray Shero confirmed it. He would only trade back if he knew for a fact the teams in front of him weren't selecting Hischier. And so when he realized that that wasn't the case, he kept the number 1 pick, and they selected Hischier. Well, Cale Makar goes to college. He dominates. He basically turns into Bobby Orr reincarnated. I honestly believe he's that good. I have no issues admitting that. If the draft were redone today, the Devils probably would take Cale Makar. But that would have left them a big hole at the number 1 center position, that two-way centerman. You think of every Stanley Cup champion, and they have their own version of Hischier. Now, with that said, you have Hischier. You have Hughes. Mercer's on the come-up. They really liked Alexander Holtz as a prospect. You have, you're probably going to be a player in free agency. They end up with Andre Palat. At the time, they probably believed they were going to go for Johnny Gaudreau before Palat even became a thing. There were all sorts of possibilities. Jesper Bratt is already there, knowing they're going to be there for a long time. They've been linked to Timo Meier since basically his 5th or 6th year in the league. You probably figured that could happen eventually if you're Tom Fitzgerald. Okay, we have all these great forwards. What do we got on the back end? Okay, we got Dougie signed long-term. Really not sure about Ty Smith. They ended up trading him for John Marino, of course. They took Luke Hughes 1 year prior. You're going to draft 2 defensemen in the top 5. Not always a bad strategy. We've seen teams win Stanley Cups because they have 2 top 5 drafted defensemen. The Devils decided to make that choice with Nemitz. So far, so good. Everyone likes the Logan Cooley pick for Arizona. He's a great player. Where would he fit in on the Devils? Where would you put Cooley in the lineup right now? You know exactly where Nemitz belongs in the long term when it comes to the Devils. So hindsight is 2020. Nemitz, great player. I'm falling in love with him as a defenseman on this team. Now, also read an article about how rare it is for a right-handed right defense to be elite. They're few and far between. Even if he's not elite, if he's a number 2 and Luke Hughes is a number 1, or if they're both a 1A, 1B, that's a core on D that you could build around for a long time. So I think they're playing well, knowing that they have 3 guys in the lineup. I think Kevin Ball is 21 or 22, but it's his first full season with the team, not sitting in the press box every game. And then Luke Hughes and Nemitz are both rookies. So, you get to that point and, you keep developing Nemitz. He's going to continue. There have been some mistakes. It hasn't been all peaches and cream for Nemitz since we started with him a couple games ago. There were some couple passes that were off the mark. Not always in the perfect position, but you know what? He has great instinct. His goal he scored, he got himself right into the right spot, and Bratt was able to find him. It's been good stuff. So, yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I agree.
Well, you talk about Logan Cooley, where he would have fit in this lineup. Well, when Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier went out with injury, you could have easily put Logan Cooley on the second line, even as a rookie. Right now, I like the depth down the middle with Logan Cooley, but it was a little bit overdone because you know what? I think the Devils really need size, but is what Nick Villano was saying, because he kind of wanted Nemitz before anybody else, like months before the draft. Remember on pitchforks.com, he thought, and I think he's correct on it, that the tandem of Hughes and Nemitz for the next 10 to 15 years as franchise pillars on the blue line far outweighed the value of getting Shane Wright, Logan Cooley, you know, at that time period when you were thinking about the draft. And on top of that, Vinny, think about this, that the depth that they have on defense. Dougie Hamilton, I couldn't fathom Dougie Hamilton going out for a significant amount of time at this point. This is great value right here, that you could just say next man up, and you have a young and up and coming elite, potentially elite defenseman coming up, filling in Dougie Hamilton, both on the power play and just, one of those pairings. And I think Tom Fitzgerald is setting a trend here that at the end of the day, the defensemen that he's been drafting, especially the right-handed mobile ones that can that can play both offense and defense, they come at a premium down the road if you need to trade them, which you don't know if you can predict. But one thing is for certain, if you remember Brian Rafalski, when the Devils had him, and there were trade rumors years ago about trading Rafalski that other teams were inquiring, Lou can ask for the moon, but he was such a big part of the team that Lou wouldn't trade him at all. I remember back in the day, there were rumors about Rafalski, because he was last year's contract, but Lou wouldn't do it. Lou wouldn't do it because he was just too valuable to the New Jersey Devils.
Which makes sense. I remember Rafalski. He was obviously, huge. Yeah, so hopefully Nemitz can even, become, I'm not going to say half of, but, he could become Rafalski. You don't draft a guy second overall who has those types of underlying numbers and was that good in a professional league in Slovakia as such a young player. He went number 2 overall for a reason. So it really wouldn't shock me to really see him and Luke Hughes kind of take over this blue line. And guess what? Dougie Hamilton will be able to age gracefully. He's going to make a lot of money for the rest of his contract. He's going to be here. The Dougie Hamilton, his career with the Devils is nowhere near over. So, it'll be interesting to see how he kind of starts to execute being like a secondary defenseman on the team. Like maybe he's the team's number 3 in the long term. I think of, how other teams, they start to use aging defensemen in lesser roles, but Dougie Hamilton will always have awesome mitts. He'll always have an awesome shot. Think of the way the Pittsburgh Penguins use Christopher Letang. That's kind of how I see Dougie Hamilton's career kind of progressing as the years go along. He's not going to need to be the top 7 Norris Trophy caliber guy. He's not going to win the Norris Trophy. He never won it, but he's been in the top 4, top 5 in his career. He doesn't need to be that guy really going forward, maybe after this year or next year, but being there as a steady guy to play with guys like Nemitz and Hughes, and you got Siegenthaler there for a while. Hopefully he starts to kind of get it going a little bit. It hasn't been that outstanding of a year for him so far, but people like the way Marino plays. Kevin Ball's a big meanie back there. He's got stuff that he can help the team with. I've actually liked Kevin Ball's game this year. So we'll see what happens there. Sam, I know we only got 8 minutes till the game really kind of gets going.
Yeah, I think we need to get to predictions.
I was just going to say, if you had a point to make, you can make it, but I want to encourage people in the chat right now on YouTube Live, start throwing those predictions right in there.
Yeah. Also, another news, Nico Dawes off the IR list, says Ted. Yes, with Utica. Nico Dawes, the goaltender, possibly of the future after hip surgery. I don't know. We shall see. Also, the game today, Toffoli goes back to Calgary. The rumors about Tanev. Well, Vinny, it's going to be. I'll tell you, I'm looking at the predictions right now from everybody, but I think this is going to be a great game to see where the Devils are at. When they play on the Calgary Flames, because again, the Flames they're searching for their identity right now. After what happened with Matthew Tkachuk, I think they're still suffering from that trade, and him wanting out and Gaudreau wanting out. It's going to be wild for Calgary because it seems like everybody's just exiting Calgary at this point.
Yeah. and you got Tyler Toffoli playing for the Devils. I'm sure he's motivated. I like their chances today. I really, really do.
Yeah. And then you got Sharon Govich. What is he going to do?
Yeah,
I'm sure there's motivation there. So we shall see. All right, so you want to read out some of these predictions, and I'll get yours, and then give you mine?
Yeah, absolutely. Chris says 4-1 good guys. Kodak says 8-3 Devs. Michael says 3-1 Devs. Ted says 4-3 Devs. Eric says 4-3 Devils. Another close one, could be OT. Yeah, I think it'll be close too. Art says 3-2 Devils. Ramona says 4-2 Devils. Yeah. And yes, there's some talk about Nico Doss. He did play in the AHL. He played for Utica yesterday. Really, really good AHL debut this season. Excited to see when he does get into some NHL action. Selecta says 4-3 Devils. Joseph says 4-1 Devils. Ted says I need some Crew brew. Just saying, well, go get a tower at American Whiskey right across the street from Prudential Center. You go get the tower. The only beer you can have put in a tower at American Whiskey is Crew brew. And our predictions today are brought to you by Crew Brew. Join our crew today and drink Crew Brew, where we make winning memories together, one crew at a time. Sam, your prediction.
9-5 Devils.
Woo!
Lots of scoring.
Whoa.
Markstrom's injured. Devils are hungry. They got a lot of firepower. Yep.
So we got a couple more coming in. Selecta says 4-3 Devils. Joseph says 4-1 Devils. JP says 4-2 Devils. Nate says 4-1 Devils. So yeah, I am going to make my prediction. I think the Devils are going to win this game 4-2. 4-2 New Jersey Devils. Excited to see how they attack this rookie goalie. Don't make him comfortable. Don't let him get into a groove. Corbin says 7-3 Devils. Jack Hughes, no points last game. He rarely goes. He has almost as many games with 3 points as he does with 1 or 0 points. So, I really don't expect him to get another 0 on the score sheet tonight. Even if it's just 1 or 2, he sure always seems to play well against the Flames as well. Remember, he's made a couple really nice plays against the Flames in his career. So, yeah, I'm excited for this one. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun. And also, we will be back. Devils After Dark, Scotty, a Sirius XM, Liquid Metal, and I will recap the game that was, and hopefully my setup will be a lot better. I'll be back in the bunker. Right now, I'm traveling right now. So thank you for, putting up with our technical difficulties. And Vinnie, you did a great job when I went to you and you go solo and all that. So great job, everybody. The YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and X Live is hitting the music right now. Devils, Flames, in a few minutes. Drink your Crew brew. See you at Devils After Dark after the game. Till next time, let's go Devils.